So now that we already learned how to work with the Scala variables, we want to write some functions. So let's see how we define function in a Scala. This is an example of function in a Scala. If you notice, we define functions, starts with def, and then we have the function name, we have the input parameters, and then we have a colon, output parameters, a curly braces, and then the body of the function, and it closes. So I'm just going to highlight. This is a def. It means this is any function that should start with def. This is function name, right? And for example, in this case, you're trying to find the minimum of the value x and y, right? If you know any other programming language, for example, Java or C++, is the same, right? You need to pass the input params here, right? And then this is actually the result type. After the result type, we have the curly braces. This is the function body, right? And we close the curly braces, right? Okay, so let's run this in Scala and see if it works well, right? Let's do that. Okay, so this is what we had before. I'm going to move this stuff and just paste everything here. Okay, this if should be small. Okay, so this is how we define a function. We have def, function name, input param, output, and then we pass here. Just to make things easier, we can call this function find min of 3 and 5, and I can call print ln of this guy, right? What do you think? Let's see if it's gonna work. Run. Okay, it's not hello anymore, the name of the class, but you know, we can still use the same object. So it's printing 3, which is the minimum, right? Okay, so this is a very typical way of defining function in Scala, but there is other ways also to define it. So one of them is you don't need to specify the result types in most of the cases. In some cases you need, let's say if you have a recursion function, but let's say here, if you notice, I don't have a return type, right? And actually in Scala, they call this result type, and in Java, we call it return type. Okay, so let's just remove this guy, which is gonna give us this, and we can try to see if it works. So here, I'm just gonna, not define the result type. Oh, sorry. Okay, why this guy is helping me? Okay, basically this doesn't exist. I think it's just showing it as a help, but now I don't have it. I removed it. Let's try again and see if it works. Yes, it's the same. I think this gray is just saying that this is a result type, but it's not part of my code. If you see I try to delete, it doesn't exist. So don't get confused by why we have this here. It's just a guide to say it's calculated the result type and it's integer. Something else, okay, we can even do it more abstract and make it even smaller. Let's say I want to define a function and I just have one liner. So I can just remove the curly braces, right? I can remove the result type. Let's say I have a method sum, right? If you look here, definition, I'm defining a sum. It means it's a function. This is a function name. This is an input param. I just need to pass equal and then my function, right? So this is going to get evaluated. The result of this is going to be calculated in my function. So let's try this. So we're going to say define, what was the function name? Sum, right? Integer x. Oh, sorry. So this is how we define the param. So it's not like Java. So you say the parameters name and then the type, right? And y also int equal to x plus y. Oh, sorry, y, right? So if you notice, I did not pass this integer. It's just like Scala is being so helpful, and Scala plugging is just showing that the expression, the result of this is going to be string. So now I'm going to say, give me the sum of x comma y. Oh, sorry, I need to pass the value 3 and 5. Let's see if it's going to make the math. So calling the function is, so I got 8. Calling the function is the same as other languages. It's not really different. It's just like the function name and then the values. You pass the input params and then you get the result. So I want to actually make another test. So if I say define, let's say, greet, and I pass here message1 from the type string, right? And comma message2 from the type string as well, right? Equal to, I'm gonna say message1. So by default, unit in a function of Scala is equivalent of void in Java. So if you don't have a return type, and or if you want to specify that you don't have a return type, you can use the keyword unit. So we can say message1, right, plus message2. So we do the attach the toString. And if you notice, by default, a Scala assigned the output param to string. And here, if I want to just say println, and I say greet, and I say I pass toString hello, comma Scala. Okay, there's another way to pass the to call a function. You can specify message1 equal to hello, or you can just pass. So these guides, the one anything gray is not part of my code. Just please don't get confused by that. It's just Scala is guiding me. I think maybe it's better for me to turn off this feature, or maybe I'm going to keep it so you understand what's going on, but it's not part of my code. Okay, so let's just see what's going to print for us. So we got hello Scala. So that's how we call it, right? So it's the same thing. If you also don't, if you want to define a function that has no input param, let's say I'm just going to define another function, define hello, and like this, and I'm going to say, what was my example? Let's say println hello. It means there's no return type, right? So you see by default, it changed the return type to unit. So we have defined. So if you notice, this is the third one. So here I have def function name. The def, it means there's a function name. I have no input param. And if you notice, I don't need to pass unit here, right? It means I don't have a return type, but the Scala is smart enough to do it. But if you want, I could have written define hello, right? And I just say the return type is unit. It means I don't have a result type, and print alone hello, right? But because the Scala is so awesome, I don't need to do that. I can just remove this guy, and during the compile time, Scala is just defining this type for me, right? And if you notice, I also can remove the curly braces if I have only one line of function. Seriously, this is just amazing. So instead of writing so much for a function, you can just do a one-liner and you have a beautiful function and easy. So I hope you enjoyed this session. We're going to continue more. Thank you.